Kentucky. But I was how long before I was even born.
And welcome to another episode of Bourbon and Ballistics. I'm your host, Joel Potter, and today we are joined by Peter Sadabseng from Battleborn Autobody. How are you doing, bud?
Good. How are you?
Good. So Peter and I, relationship is fairly new. Our daughters are friends in school, and then we eventually, trapped you guys into hanging out with us. And now here we are a couple of years down the road. I think, our kids last year in elementary school. So we've been friends for a little bit, and I'm excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to partake in some Blade and Bow today. It's my first time having it. I don't think you've had it either.
I've never had it.
It's got the little collector's keys, kind of like the Blanton tops. So it's kind of a gimmicky thing, but kind of fun. From the reviews I read on the internet, it looks like it's a pretty easy drink. Each key actually represents the 5 different stages of distilling. So you got the grains, the yeast, the fermentation, the distillation, and then the aging. So there's 5 different keys, each with a little number on it, I believe. So anyways, we'll get this poured up, and
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Like I said, it's a easy on the budget, and apparently it's easy on the drink too. So we'll get some of this poured up, and we'll talk some bourbon and ballistics.
Sweet.
All right. Now, before we get into it, I guess we're gonna, according to the website, we're gonna get a nose of citrus, some mint, oak, and some green apple, which it does smell very sweet.
Yes, very.
That's not a lot of ethanol on the top of that, so that's probably why people like it so much. Well, cheers.
Not
man.
bad. Cheers.
It's an easy drink.
Yeah. Got a little sweet aftertaste.
Yeah, let's talk about on the palate. We're going to get some apricots, some figs and pears, some cereal grains, and a little bit of caramel, and then a little bit of oak on the back, which I really didn't get a ton of.
No.
I can definitely see why people like that.
I'm not a big on the smoke, but
right.
I mean, you can't even, there's nothing here. I mean, no, it's definitely smooth going down,
Yeah, that's a good drink. And I guess there's a lot to be said about this Blade and Bow. Like I said, it's one of those things where you're not breaking the bank to go out and get it, and you can definitely share this one with your friends. So I guess we'll get right into it. We know that you are one of a couple owners of Battleborn Autobody.
Correct. There's 3 of us.
There's 3 of you guys. One is your brother.
Yes. Puve, Sadabseng, and then Stephen Olivas.
Okay. And
there was 4 partners in the beginning.
Okay. It was a little bit split up.
Correct.
Okay.
There was 4 partners in the beginning when we first opened it.
And before we go there, I guess what I find so interesting about you guys is your guys' your story of with your brother.
Brothers. I have 2.
Right. And so they were not born here.
Correct. One was born in Laos.
Yeah.
And then the other one was born in Thailand before my parents got sponsored to move here. So they each got a name from the country they were born. So Samte, my older brother, we're all 2 years apart. He's 46. Puve is 44 and I'm 42.
Okay, you're the baby.
I am the baby.
No sisters.
Nope, all boys. My
right.
Mom definitely wanted a girl, but when she got the sonogram, she double checked, triple checked. She's like, no, I want a girl.
And everybody's still here? Your older brother?
My older brother is up in Washington with my parents. They live up there. They're trying to retire and, move back down here with the grandkids.
You didn't want anything to do with the Autobody industry?
He wasn't really into cars as much.
Okay.
Me and Puve, we call him Pooh. We got into cars at a young age. So, I think I was 13 or 14. He was 15, 16, right around there. And we were working on cars in the garage. From at a young age, we were helping my dad change oil. Whenever he was working on the car, we were out there with him. mechanically. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that on more of a mechanical side, and I know that you guys do, looking up, and just as a quick reference on the website, it does talk about a lot of the stuff that you guys do still mechanically, outside of just physical body work and paint.
If it's mechanical, I mean, if it's basic mechanics, we can do it. For the most part, we leave the major mechanic stuff to mechanics.
Okay.
I mean, that's what they do for a living.
Sure.
We fix cars. We make them look pretty.
Yes, you do.
So that's what we try to focus on, and we let the mechanics focus on being mechanics. So
how many people do you guys currently have staffed?
Including us three, it's a total of 24.
Oh.
So yeah. 24 total. I mean, we just keep growing. It's a good feeling. Scary at times, but it's a good feeling, So you got that responsibility of not just who you employ, but their family, that you got to make sure that they're able to provide for their family. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people say, or, they just care about just an employee, but it's not what it comes down to, They have to provide for their family.
When you getting into the industry so young, do you feel like there's been kind of a transitional period where you've taken something, and I don't work in the industry, so I can't really, something so simplistic, but you guys have definitely made it an art form. And I feel like you guys have added a ton of value to the name Battleborn Autobody by the type of leadership that you guys are providing, the business that you guys have built. What do you think in that sense has been some of the challenges you guys have faced as you guys have grown to the level that you guys have gotten to?
I mean, everybody looks at us and says, oh, we must be rich because we own a shop and how busy we are. Mm-hmm. They don't realize what comes on the back end of it. Just you're fronting everything. You're buying parts before the car gets there. So that's money that's out. You're paying your employees. You're paying the government. They're, up in their fees all the time. They try to make it, it's almost like they want you to fail, with all the fees and everything. Yeah. It just makes it harder for small businesses. And it's really hard. The last big change for licensing, I mean, I think they doubled it. So instead of paying a certain amount, it was twice as much. Sure. That's like, okay. And then, you've just got all the other bills that come with it. I mean, you got to pay for unemployment, you've got to pay for health insurance. You've got to pay. There's all these little things that I never knew about until I actually opened the business, and have employees.
How big is your guys' facility?
Well, we've got a total of roughly around 18,000 square feet. Mm. So, I mean, coming from where we started, we started in a little hole in the wall with 3,000 square feet. 1,000 square feet was the office, or approximately 1,000 square feet. And then the paint booth took up a majority of it.
So it's always been in the same location?
No, we had a little, like I said, when we first started, we were on a budget. If we didn't meet that budget, then we weren't going to open, but everything was already in play. Mm-hmm. So I guess the big thing is you have to have a booth permit. So a paint booth permit. And
really?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, you can't just put up a booth and then paint. It doesn't work that way. The city needs to inspect it. They have to approve it.
Because of emission or air or something?
Exactly. What's going out into the air. So
I guess that makes sense.
So they want to make sure it's permitted, and they want to make sure it's safe, that it's not going to explode or anything like that. So you've got to get the chem dry system, which is, a suppression system that's chemical. Okay. So you pull a cord and it just drops chemical in there.
Talk to me about the responsibilities of owning a business. Besides we're talking about payroll, but some of the other challenges. How about that? When you're focused so much on building an empire, right? You're focused on getting this thing off the ground, and the sacrifices. I mean, you're a dad. You have your kids do sports, your kids do activities, after school activities, your kids have things during school that you're having to make those sacrifices to ensure that what you're building is going to stick. And tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I guess it all starts with I quit my previous job in November of 2012. I had my daughter November 21st, 2012. So there was no income coming in, and we were waiting for our shop to open. Mm. So our shop opened February 2013, and we were at the end. If we did not open that day, we couldn't pay rent because our money was gone. I cashed out my total retirement, nothing left. It was all in there. And it was me and Steven that were there first, that we could afford to, if we could do the work, it'd be just me and him. He would do the body work. I'd be painting. And if it was one person doing the work, the other person had to go sit in the office to make sure we can answer phone calls if there were phone calls or anything like that. And I just remember the struggle of not, because I just had a newborn. So, and I didn't have any money or anything like that. Everything was used up. So we just bought the bare necessities that we needed. Luckily, my wife was able to breastfeed. That helped out a ton. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, formula isn't cheap.
It's not, but I made sure that, hey, whatever my wife needed to make sure she could feed our baby.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been married at that point?
We got married in 2011. So September 2011. Okay. So,
still fairly fresh.
It is, yeah. But she also pushed the one that pushed me towards it.
And that's really,
she supported me.
That's a big thing too, is, having, if you're going to go out and you're going to be self-employed, if you're going to be, have the mindset of an entrepreneur, having somebody that's going to, having your spouse have your back is an extremely important piece of that puzzle. Otherwise, I promise you it's not going to work. On one way or the other.
100%. Yeah. Like I said, she was the one that, she saw that I wasn't just not happy going to work, coming home. So she's like, you know what? You can make less. I don't care. Go work for the state or whatever it is and make less than what you're making now. It's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. Or do something. I just want to see you happy. And for me, it was either go work for the state and work for NDOT or start my own business. And the choice was, I can suffer for a little bit, but then I'll have something for me that, me and my business partners created. Mm-hmm. Or I can go work for the state and retire after 30 years with their retirement. And for me, I think I made the right choice. I'm finally reaping the benefits of a business,
Yeah. And it takes a long time to get there. And you guys, I'm sure you faced your fair share of struggles as a business, as partnership. As that whole thing goes.
It's hard. Like I said, I didn't eat, me and Steven, when we first started working there. I'd go to Walmart, buy one of those pre-made sandwiches, and me and him would split it. Mm. And then, if I couldn't eat it, I just made sure my wife ate so that she could take care of my daughter. Mm. We were struggling, but we made ends meet, and me and Steven just talked about it the other day. It was like, man, we had nothing. We buy a cup of noodles and just eat one for lunch, and that was it. Whatever it took to make it, and a lot of people don't see that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just see where we're at now. We've got nice cars, but they don't see the struggle that we went through, and that's what a lot of people miss is like, I have employees that have worked for me and said, I want to be where you're at. I want to make what you make. And it's like, well, it took me a while to get to where I'm at. It doesn't just happen overnight. Yeah. I started cleaning toilets and washing cars. That's how I got into this industry. Mm-hmm.
And that's, really a common theme. I think, this is only episode 4, but out of all the people I've interviewed, except for my son, it really is a common theme where you give everything that you have to ensure that this thing works. From Russ over at Nevada Serico to Jeff at ODM, they are facing those same struggles, as being self-employed business owners. And so for you guys, especially now in the part of your life that you're in, seeing all that, having a newborn, and then missing probably, I'm guessing, I'm just assuming here, but missing a lot of the firsts, that you probably could have seen had you been.
I missed a lot. And, it wasn't until we had our son, Peter, and that's when I realized how much I missed of my daughter, Sage. The things that he was doing, it was like, oh my God, how did I miss this of my daughter? I feel so guilty. But at the same time, I look back and I say, you know what? I'm doing this, or I did that so that now I can take time. If she does any kind of sports, I'm there. Same with my son. I help coach football during the fall. I'm able to do those kinds of things. Whereas if I was working for somebody else, I don't know if they'd be as lenient to let me go do the things that I'm doing now. But my employees, I always tell them families first. Don't miss out on it. So if they ask me for time off because they're doing something with their family, I don't hesitate. It's like, go.
And I think that probably speaks a lot to the people that you have working for you have, if I'm not mistaken, most of them have been there for a while.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of turnover.
There is turnover, in the entry level position.
Sure.
Because, they come in and they expect more. But with every industry, you have entry level position. And then you have to want to be more. I can't make you want more. If you're content with the position you're in, I can't make you work harder. You have to want it, and that's why we always try to hire or promote within. So I have guys that start down at the entry level position, but then if the bodymen or the painters, they see that you're working really hard, they'll take you under their wing and then they'll train you for the trade. And again, that's how I was brought up through the industry.
And it really is an art. They got to do my truck through an insurance claim. And when it came out of there, you couldn't even tell. I've seen a lot of times where something will go into the body shop, comes out, the tint's a little off. You can tell in the sun, and with my truck, you cannot. It looks factory fresh.
That's awesome.
So you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
And the aftercare service, it wasn't just, painting my fender and all that stuff. So your guys definitely took good care of me. And that's one of the things that, like I said, I really wanted to hone in on, that you've built something that's not a typical auto body shop. You guys are doing something right. And
thank you.
Yeah. It speaks volumes of like I said, your guys' work is reflected in that as well. So
thank you. It's just the little things like, I try to treat every customer the same, whether you're, I don't know. I don't judge by the cover. If you come in, if you treat me with respect, I will obviously treat you with respect. If you're coming in hot, and you're just coming in hot and yelling at my employees right off the bat, it's not going to work out. And I've had to refuse service, but it's one of those things where, I want to be treated fairly if I go to some place. So that's how I treat people when they come in.
With your line of work, I would assume that you guys do get a lot of insurance work. I don't know how they would phrase that.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of insurance work.
What's that? With them probably looking to either, I would assume that they are not looking to pay or like trying to get out cheap. How does, when you work with an insurance company on your end, what does that look like?
It's just being most cost effective.
Yeah.
However your policy is written. So a lot of people don't really read their policy when they sign up for the insurance. They're just looking for, the best deal they can get. Well, that comes with a price. So if you read the fine print, it lets the insurance company use used parts, aftermarket parts, or anything like that. And for the most part, if I had to choose between aftermarket and used parts, like used parts from a wrecking yard, I would go with a used part because at least it's still a factory part. And when the wrecking yards sell to a body shop, they have to sell insurance grade, which is supposed to be at a different level than selling to your average Joe. So, it has to be a grade A. So it has to be good.
So like if the front end of the car was wrecked, you'd get stuff off the back of it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And it's supposed to be a factory part.
Okay.
They can't sell me a used part that's an aftermarket part because that just doesn't work. That's not how they're supposed to be done. So, I mean, as far as their policy, again, if you get an OEM endorsement, you pay a little bit extra for your premium, but you're guaranteed factory parts from the manufacturer. If pay a little extra and you get into an accident, if the other insurance company doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to give you OEM parts, you use your own insurance and let your own insurance go after them because you've paid that premium and you get all factory parts. But the cool thing we have is we work a lot with local dealers and all dealers from over the hill. I mean, we work a lot with them. So we use programs that help them price match. So the insurance company will pay us a certain dollar amount for a part, say an aftermarket part. We shoot that through this program to one of the dealers and they price match it. So even though the insurance company says go aftermarket or used, well, used is kind of hard because it's a lot lower. But if they write for aftermarket, most of these dealerships will match it. So that was the big sell in the very beginning when we opened our shop or when we started doing a little more business, was instead of me making, let's say $50 profit on a part, I would take the loss and make $10 and buy the OEM part and make sure the customer gets a factory part instead of getting an aftermarket part, me profiting 50.
This kind of guy.
So the bottom line, I wasn't making as much as I should have been.
And that's probably why you're so busy. I mean, you're probably, when I look on any sort of Facebook group, I mean, you guys are always top A1 referral. And so there's probably things like that you guys have done over the years that are, it's giving you guys such a good and
you know what, we're like right now, we're booked out till the beginning of May, and that's solid hours, and then you get maybe 1 or 2 cancellations a week and they've waited, 4 months to get in. You get 1 or 2 cancellations, you just bump someone up. So it's not like there's a lot of work. I mean, the driving in this area, I just think a lot of it was clashing of 2 driving styles. You have your people that have been here forever, and then you got people moving in from wherever, and the driving styles are completely different. So, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
So you guys get up and running, you guys start, I'm assuming you kind of start, you guys assume your own roles. I mean, are you still pretty flexible as to what are you out there still spraying cars and stuff like that? Or are you more, have you guys kind of, you and the partners kind of assumed different leaderships?
We have our own roles, but we're not afraid to get dirty. So just last week, we needed some help in the body side. So taking apart cars or whatever. So I jumped in. I jumped in on that side.
We didn't have a podcast last week because you was out painting cars.
Well, I don't just paint, the painting part, I try to leave to my brother if we need to step in.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part for me now is if the body techs need help taking apart cars, I don't have a problem jumping in there and taking apart a complete car and put it back together.
What's the biggest pain in the ass to take apart? What do you hate seeing come in there?
I don't hate them. I like how they're engineered, but the German vehicles,
yeah.
They hide everything, but they also make everything more comfortable. So, everything's quieter. You're driving down the road, you're not hearing the wind noise as much, whereas you're everyday car, you hear a little wind noise as you're driving, and it's common, but your German engineered cars, they're quiet.
So like even like body panels and stuff like that, just hidden.
Like to take apart a trim panel, you've got to know what panel to pop off to find the screws. So if you don't and you just start pulling, you're going to break the trim panel. So, and there's always databases in our estimating system. It'll tell you, so you can click on it and ask or just kind of click on it and they'll tell you, hey, to take this apart, you have to pop this off, this off, this off.
That's
So
cool.
it's a cool program, you know, I mean, but it's a subscription.
Oh, okay.
So you pay for it and then you're able to write estimates and everything is pretty much book time. So it's not like I'm making up time on how much it takes to remove a bumper. I don't just make that number up. It's average between the fastest guy and the slowest guy. They find a middle point and it's the motor's database and they kind of figure that out. And for the most part, you should be able to cut it in half. You know, if once you get to be a point where you're a good tech, you're able to cut that time in half.
I guess these been to another point is what kind of advancements have you seen in the industry? Because I feel like the automotive is always so fast to evolve. On your side of it, I mean, on the Autobody, I guess just even in paint matches, stuff like that, like how much since you started evolvement have you seen? How many times have you had to relearn or new programming? What do you got going on?
Well, we started out when I was working for the other company, we were using solvent-based paint, you know, and then they switched over to a waterborne paint, which is, you know, everything California does, it tends to move this way.
Prop 65.
So we, you know, with my previous employer, they wanted to get ahead of it and they switched over to the waterborne paint, which is, it's nice because if the paint manufacturers or if the dealers, you know, the vehicle make and model or the vehicle make, if like Ford, you know, Chevy, if they're all using waterborne paint to match it, why wouldn't you
Makes sense.
use the same thing, you know? It wasn't until recently we switched to a different company that the technology is different. Now, when we paint a car, we have a camera system. You polish it, make sure it's shiny. You take a snapshot of it, and it sends you the formula into your computer.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, and then if you do a spray out card, if it looks good, you spray the car. If not, you can do a correction, which you just take another photo of the car and the card and put correct, and it'll correct.
How neat.
I mean, it's not 100%, you know,
cool?
It's not 100%, but it's close, you know, it's blendable. So you always want to blend the next panel to make sure the color matches. So
how neat.
It's definitely evolved.
And so you guys used to do RVs and stuff, right?
A little. We dabbed into it, you know, I mean, but with the rules and regulations, you know, you can't paint outside the booth. You got to be inside of a booth. And unfortunately, the booth we bought, it will fit Sprinter vans,
okay,
but not RVs.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are a couple shops that do it, you know, but it was just something we couldn't justify at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would seem like
you have to dedicate a lot to
work,
it.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, the few times we actually had our RV into a shop, it was a complete disaster. You know, I mean, just, you know, everything's a little bit different. I mean, it's from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Everything's a little bit different. You got a lot of older RVs out there trying to find the parts and you know, and all that stuff. I mean, it probably would be a nightmare and probably best to avoid it if you can.
Yes. I mean, like I said, we stay busy. I mean, like I said, we're blessed.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where we're blessed to be able to have all the work, and we're just appreciative of everybody that is willing to wait. You know, it says a lot for our name and what we built, that when a customer comes in and they wreck their car and they say, we tell them, hey, we're out till end of April. They're like, okay.
Doesn't even phase them.
It doesn't.
So they know they're going to get
exactly
the best there.
You know, I had a customer come in today, you know, and she is scheduled in March. She already had her appointment, but she's like, is there any way you can just put on a taillight for me? That way I can drive around with the actual taillight. So we order the part today. When it comes in, I'll pop off her taillight and then put on the new one. And then she can go off and drive with the taillight working and then come back when it's ready for repairs on her scheduled appointment. And she's like, this is why you guys have such great recommendations. You know, you guys are willing to help. And, you know, like I said, for the most part, I try to help everybody. But there's only so much you can do, and it's a service industry. And I can't please everyone. Sure. You know, you're going to have your upset people, which at first it hit me hard. I lost sleep, you know, and it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, what could I have done to make this better?
And we just had, and to your point, had our first negative response from the targets, from First Line Ballistics targets.
I love them.
Thank you. This guy was shooting, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the round was, but it was a really big hunting round at like 80 yards through a 3/8 inch AR 500, and believe me, it went right through it. You know, it put a grape size hole through the, you know, to get a full Steve and have the center mass, and blew right through it.
Oh my God!
He's all pissed off, and there's stickers. You know, we've evolved enough as a company to put the stickers on there that tells you recommended shooting distances for certain caliber and size rounds. So he should have been well aware. But the point of my story is, and I digress, is, you know, it was our first time having somebody come back just completely pissed off. And what it did to me personally was, you know, it kind of turned my world upside down. I'm like, how could we fix this? How can we make it right? What can we do to make this guy better? In turn, the reality of it is you put the warning out there, you put the recommendation out there, and somebody opted to not look at it. And so we did our best to make it right. The guy's still having problems with certain portions of the target, you know, the lower steel pole. He ended up shooting through that, which is,
I was going to say, is he shooting through?
He needs, I don't know the guy at all, but I think it's, you know, it's one of those things where he may need to go back and talk to his local instructor out there in Fernley, and probably figure out I don't know if he's doing some cowboy stuff, you know, because he's all over the map, and so maybe he's just out there having fun, and that's okay, you know. But again, to come back, you know, I spent the money on this nice target, blew right through it, and I've, you know, expressed that we've had, you know, dozens and dozens of these things here, just, you know, locally in Northern Nevada, and never has this been a problem, you know. And so we went back to the drawing board, kind of figured out what we could do to kind of improvise, help this guy out a little bit, design a custom part for him. So everything pretty much now on his target is bulletproof. The point, you know, there is a limit to what you should or can do for a customer, where it's no longer in your best interest, in the company's best interest. Like I said, you got a lot of mouths to feed there at the shop, and
correct.
You have to do what you can do to make sure that, you know, you're making those ends meet to where those people are getting their paychecks every week too.
Correct. I can't let one customer that I can't satisfy take the whole shop down, because then, you know what, it's the 23 other people that are there that are suffering.
Sure.
You know, if I were to say, hey, I'm done, I give up, it's 23 people plus their family, whether they have kids, whether, you know, by themselves, whatever it is, it's not, I look at it as not just them.
And it's, you know, it's, you made a point to it a little bit earlier on, but things are getting more expensive, and we're all well aware of that, you know, and you know, doubling of costs. I mean, you know, the wife and I talk about it all the time, where we can't believe, you know, I just saw it this week too. It was a picture of grocery, you know, Kevin McAllister, and since it's the holidays, we're talking about Home Alone, but that those 4 bags of groceries that Kevin McAllister was bringing back from the store in Home Alone, he got all that for under, I think, like $10 or something like that. There's like fabric softener and all these, I mean, things that are going to cost you. They say the equivalent now is like almost $70 or something.
I was going to say that fabric softener is probably what, 8?
Yeah,
almost 10 itself.
It's just crazy,
so
you know?
yeah.
So here we are, you know, and like I said, you know, there's with evolving processes and you know, the products themselves. I mean, everybody's feeling those restraints and constraints of, you know, the EPA pushing back, especially in your industry. You know, we as on the target side, I mean, our steel costs have doubled since we first sought out on this mission.
Yep.
And so, you know, we are doing our best to absorb as much of that as we can. But the reality of it is if you're offering a product or a service that is better than your competitors, which you are, that there's an associated cost with that.
But my prices aren't any more than.
But your shop rate, I mean, not your shop rate, but your employee rates have gone up, right? You're still having to, like, your minimum wage and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. All that has gone up. But I mean, as far as labor rates, I mean, we're competitive, or we're competitive with the other shops.
Sure.
You know, I mean,
Sure.
And a lot of the times it's, you know, we have our labor rates and we try to push for our labor rates, but you have your insurance companies that just say, this is what we'll pay. And you fight the fight. So every car that's in there, you're like, hey, this is our rate. You need to. And
as a collective, though, is where I was getting, like, we are all facing, you know, price hikes. I mean,
for sure. 100%.
Trying your best to not nickel and dime, which, I mean, like I said, that was definitely not my point. But as an industry, you guys are all in this together, where it's just, the paint isn't as cheap as it used to be.
No,
You know?
I mean,
the quality, you know, I'm sure is hopefully getting better. You know, you would assume. But then we're also, you know, those companies are probably trying to find ways to, you know, make their product go a little bit farther as well.
Yep.
So,
you know, I mean, I think there was price of paint. I mean, there was one year where it went up 5 or 6 times that, you know, there was an increase, and it was during the pandemic, you know, and then there was a shortage of it, and, you know, of supplies. And it's like, okay, what do you do? How do you?
I really hate talking about the pandemic, but I really do enjoy hearing how companies skirted, or how did you guys survive? What did you guys do to survive when the government is telling you not to survive?
Well, we were essential. So everybody wanted their car back. Okay. And we had a backlog. You know, we had customers scheduled for a month. And there was a week or two that they said no one should be out. I think that's how it was, the lockdown.
Quick,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had a full month of work that was still scheduled in. And it was just essential employees or essential workers or whatever that were allowed to be out. Well, there was 2 days where we did not write one estimate out of that time. And I was scared. You know, the first 2 days, I was like, holy crap, what is going on? Like, this is going to hurt. But after those 2 days, we started getting people to come in, or people were coming in, getting estimates. And it was just like back to normal.
Business as usual.
Business as usual as far as writing estimates. Now, parts is a different story.
Yeah.
You know, if the manufacturer shuts down, you know, you might not think that affects anybody, but if the
are you guys still feeling? Are you guys still feeling that? Yeah.
So this union strike, it hurt us. You know, and not a lot of people realize it, but if no one's there to ship or make the parts, when I order a part and it's coming from the manufacturer, I call the dealer. I say, hey, I need this part. And they say, okay, it's coming from the plant. The plant's on strike. So, you know, and I get we don't have an ETA because it's coming from the plant. They're on strike. And that's the answer I get from the dealer. I relay that to the customer.
They're pumped, I'm sure.
And they're like, why don't you have the part? They say it's available online. Well, it's available online until you press checkout, or it's the wrong part. Because I always verify my parts by VIN with the dealer. I give them the VIN. They order the parts. That's specifically how your car was built. So, you know, it's by VIN and all of that. And, you know, these customers, some of the customers, they say, oh, well, I found it online.
Well, you get that, you bring it.
Exactly. And it's the wrong, you know, it's the wrong part or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they're responsible for returning it. And it's not me. But if they were actually able to make it to the checkout, because we've done it before a customer. And that's when I stopped. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll buy this. I went on their website, went add to cart, went checkout, and it says, oh, back ordered. We'll ship when we get it. So it's the same thing exactly. It's the same thing that I'm doing, you know, and I'm getting it from the dealer. And when the dealers we use, they have softwares to where they can check other dealers to see who has them. And if a dealer has it and says they have one, there's a reason they have one. And it's on a national backer. Either that panel is completely mangled, or because once they ship it to you, if it's out of state, if they ship it to you, it's yours. It doesn't matter if it's damaged or anything. Exactly. It's like, it's yours. And you just eat it. So for the most part, it's like, if the dealership only has one, there's a reason they have one. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to pass on that one and I'll just wait for it to come off back order or whenever I see it from the manufacturer. So again, there's a lot that goes into it. Back to, the pandemic, we were still getting work in, Yeah,
I didn't really, it makes sense now that you said that, but I guess I wouldn't have put the two together, that being essential, because yes, people need their cars.
Exactly.
Things.
You get into an accident.
The government's telling you not to.
Yeah. But you get into an accident, what about the essential workers? They still need their vehicles. So we would still get more and more work, and then we finally started to come out of the pandemic, or as far as recover from it, and parts were starting to look good. And then the strike hit. So, and last year our winter was brutal.
If you didn't live in Northern Nevada, Northern California last year, you were missing out on a doozy.
We had cars getting towed in left and right, and my God, the most before last winter that we were scheduling out was right about a month and a half. And then after winter, we even shut off, if your car wasn't drivable, you couldn't bring it to us. It got to a point where we just had no more parking spots.
No.
So we just said, we can't take them anymore. And some of our customers left them at home until we could.
Really?
And it's a great feeling.
Yeah. To
be able to say, hey, they're all we waited. And it's like, thank you. What else can you say, Yeah.
And it's nice that people have that faith in you. That's got to feel pretty awesome.
It does, especially with my upbringing, having nothing,
right,
going through everything, and just my parents not having anything and just working really hard to get what they have. And that's what kind of got me to where I'm at, is we worked our butts off, to have what we have as far as a shop. To have that name is 12, 16-hour days in the beginning.
Sure.
5 days a week of that, and then another 8 to 10 on Saturday. And barely making ends meet. Yeah. So to have what we, our customer base now is a reflection for me is what we did in the past. What we got it. We got here we got to this point because of what we did in the past, a reputation.
So when you guys came in here, did your family land here in Carson, then your parents and brother moved to Washington, or how did they end up there, and then you stayed down, you and Pooh stayed down here?
So my parents were in Thailand at the refugee camp, and there was a family here in Reno that went to a church, and they were wanting to sponsor a family. And I talked to them a couple of years back, and I reunited with them. I haven't seen them in forever, but they were telling me the story that, the reason they picked my parents and my brother was because they had the same family, like they had a husband, mother, 2 sons. So they wanted the same thing, and that's where it was like, hey, they saw my parents' name and their 2 kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is the family we're going to bring over.
Yeah.
And it was by chance. It was my parents, So they got here in 1980. So they were up in Reno, and my dad they got my dad a job, they sponsored him, got him here. Got him a job, and he worked at Caro's up in Reno.
Oh, yeah.
So, but he was there at night, dishwashing, doing whatever it takes, doing whatever it took to make it, to provide for his family. So, and Laos it's poverty. I've never been there, but my parents keep telling me it's it's poverty. And
I vacation there.
Well, I want to go,
Yeah,
and I want to take my kids there just to see how much better we have it. You know, I mean, like being here in America, like don't take it for granted. You know, I mean, I've never been there, but I know from pictures and talking to my grandma back in the day and grandpa, you know, they're just like, hey, you know, you guys are living it, you know, like you have it better than us. And this was back in the 80s when we didn't have anything.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah. So do you still talk to grandparents a lot?
No, they passed.
Oh,
so no, I mean, I talked to my mom's parents, my dad's parents. I didn't really get a chance to meet them or anything. So in the 80s, my mom's parents, they came and visited for a couple months.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great. You know, I mean, I learned, he taught me how to make a fishing net and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. I bet they got some cool tricks. Yeah.
But I forgot because I was so young. You know, I didn't retain it. So, but in the 80s, like I said, you know, they moved here in 1980. I was born in 81. You know, and it wasn't until recently my dad started telling me all the stories of him working at Caro's, and, you know, we drove up there. They came and visited. They visit quite often, but at one year we were up in Reno, and he's like, Peter, this is where I used to work, because we were driving down Wells. And he's like, you see this house right here? I'm like, yeah. So every night that I'd walk home from work, a dog would jump off over this fence and chase me home. And I'm like, oh my God, like just to see how far he's come, you know, and where we're at in life now. It's like, my God, we came from nothing, you know, and he wanted better for his kids. And obviously we're doing better, you know, and that's the thing, is like, you always want to leave better. But, you know, he keeps telling me, you know, how proud he is of us, and, you know, like, this is what he wanted. But he always says, keep going. Don't stop. You know, you want to keep going. You want to make sure that you can just provide for your family and just make sure you're the man of the house, you know.
And that's been one of my favorite things about doing this show so far is, you know, sitting and getting the backstory of how the work ethic was born. You know, we're in a time, in a society where people are getting more comfortable with doing less and expecting more. And I'm assuming that, you know, if you have a business and you are employing other people and you're doing entry-level positions, that you're probably going to see somebody come in, expect a lot more than they're going to get and a lot more than they're worth, and then probably not last very long.
We get a lot of that, you know, and we get a lot of backlash from it, you know, and they say, oh, I can do this and get paid more doing this. And the thing for me is, you're starting entry level. You don't want to be there. I don't want you to be comfortable being at the entry level. I want you to work your butt off, just like I did, and move up. And again, it's, you know, for me, it wasn't hard because my dad was always at work every day. You know, whether it be he worked 2 jobs, whatever it was, you know, my mom worked, she came home, made dinner, and then my dad would come home and eat and be off to the second job. Or, you know, he wasn't there, but he was providing, you know, to have what we have or had. It got to a point where, you know, I mean, we're eating sticky rice and salt, or sticky rice and eggs. You know, rice was always part of the meal, and then we'd have one protein. You know, something there just to make our stomachs full. And as a kid, I never complained. You know, and the treat, they'd say, hey, let's go out and eat. It was going to Burger King. And it was, let's get a Whopper and not get the cheese, and come home and put a slice of cheese on it, because you can buy more cheese at the store and put it on.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, you save your, 20 cents at the time or whatever it was. And I was like, but it didn't bother me, whatever, you know. But that was once a week.
Yeah.
You know, if that, and that was the treat. And now I look at my life and I'm just kind of like, let's eat out.
Yeah.
Or let's do this. And I don't even bat an eye.
Yeah.
And just like, hey, let's do it. So to see just the aspects of that, we're definitely different from when my parents moved here, and it should be. You should want that, to be better. So what I try to tell my kids, like, my son says, oh, I want to do this. I want to run your business. I'm like, I want you to be better than me, son. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to, because if you want to run this business, you're going to have to learn the ins and outs of it. Because I know from washing the car, taking apart a car, painting a car, I know from the bottom all the way to it leaving, because I can write the estimate. I can close out a file. I can, and then I had to do bookkeeping there for a while,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, a lot of different elements that the junior's got to figure out.
Exactly. You can't just jump in and say, I'm going to run the business and not know anything about it.
Yep.
Because you don't earn the respect of your employees.
Mm-hmm.
So earning the respect of your employees because they know that you know what you're talking about goes a long way.
Sure.
And then how you talk to an employee, you can't just go over there and just yell at them.
Yep.
Every employee is different. So you cater to every employee. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, this person.
That one.
Exactly.
We don't get to raise our voice.
Exactly.
This one's, really responsive to that.
Exactly. Yeah. Or this one doesn't like criticism. So if you just word it a certain way, sure. You're catering to their needs.
Pretty much a poet and a shrink.
And they're people.
Yeah.
So
right.
Again, you just like customers, mm-hmm. You got to gauge them for you have 15 seconds right when they walk in the door, whether they're going to be hot, they're coming on fire, mm-hmm. or, they're sad. You just try to make it as smooth as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we've talked a ton about work ethic. The fruits of the labor is you getting to go out and blow off some steam. I know that recently you went over to California and got a chance to go do a pig or a boar.
It was a pig and a ram. So yeah, Shandon. So it was over by San Luis Obispo.
Mm.
The hunting in Nevada, you're lucky if you get a tag. Mm-hmm. I got very fortunate to pull a buck and a bull one year. And after that, I haven't pulled a tag since. So me and a buddy, my brother-in-law, he said, why don't we do this? And let's go see what it's like. So we went down to Shandon. It was at Bitter Water Outfitters. It's not really hunting per se. It is, you're still killing something. You're still, making sure you kill it and all that. You put your rifle down, shoot, but you're not stalking. Mm-hmm. So, for us, it was more the experience of, hey, let's go get some meat, mm-hmm. And we were able to shoot, which again, for both of us, we haven't shot, but so we got, ended up getting a ram. He got a ram. They're nice. It was fun. We were driving it side by side. The guide was telling us, that we're different compared to the people that go there.
Mm-hmm.
And the main goal to go in there was to see if we could take his grandpa there so he can have at least one more hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured it can be, hey, if he wants to do it next year, we can definitely do this. And he can at least get one more hunt.
Mm-hmm.
He's an older gentleman. And we're like, it'll be fun for him. He can still.
Terrain was pretty mellow. Is that was that where you're going?
Well, so you're in a side by side,
mm-hmm.
and it's like 300 plus acres or whatever it is, mm-hmm. but each area is fenced off for each species. So the boar and the ram, they were in one fenced off area.
Oh.
But they also have buffalo. They have all kinds of stuff, but they're all in just different areas.
Interesting.
So
Jurassic Park.
Correct.
Huh.
So we were in the side by side. We open up a gate. We're driving around. And he's like, "You guys are different from the normal clients." So he's showing us. He's driving us around. We get right in the gate and we see some animals, and he's like, "No, So we start driving around and we're going up through terrain, just some weird terrain. And he's jumping out and he's walking in little ditches, trying to see if he can scare out some pigs and all that. And we start going into territory where it's kind of just like, okay, this is fun. Like this is, we're not just driving up, pulling up to a spot, getting out and just shooting it. Yeah. He's taking us around and showing us the scenery. So that part made it worth it. It wasn't just, okay, I know where they're at. We're just going to go shoot here. He took us to a spot. We glassed for a little bit and he's like, okay, what do you think? And we're like, no, let's just keep going. And we just kept going around, and then we went up to this spot and, where it's like, okay, we like these rams. And there was a group of them, and Tyler shot one and then I ended up shooting another one. And it was awesome. I got to shoot the 6.5 PRC, which was nice. I just bought it. Didn't even take it to the range yet. I bought it with the
open a prayer.
Well, the thing was, we went on a Saturday morning. We left like at 4:00 in the morning. Got there at 3. So in California, you can't have lead ammo, but it's really hard to find non-lead ammo in Nevada or anywhere else. So you have to buy it in California. Well, you can't buy ammo in California if you're not a resident. So again, we had to make it work and we were able to get ammo, and I ended up sighting my rifle down there. So where they have a range down there to where you can shoot. And it was nice. We're like, oh, cool, shoot. They had a sighting at 50 yards, which I was like, why 50? Like, are we going to walk up to these things and...
Sleeping things.
Exactly.
Use a pistol.
Exactly. So I was like, oh my God.
They're all sedated. It's fine.
It's like, what is this? Why are we sighting it at 50 yards? But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust them and just go with it. I'm not here to fight anything. I'm here to just see if it's going to work. So that was Saturday. We sighted in at 50. Sunday morning, we wake up, we meet our guide. We go open a bunch of gates as we're driving the side by side and get to the last gate, and we start seeing animals. We're like, okay. And then he takes us around. Tyler shoots his ram at about 140 yards out. I shoot mine at 170, and one shot, they're both down. And I'm like, cool, it works. We sighted in at 50. Okay, yeah. And then he's like, okay, it's time to go get the boars. So, I mean, the guide ended up saying, hey, you know what? Do you guys want runners, or do you guys want, what kind of pigs do you guys want? Since I was there for meat, I was like, just give me a big pig. Just give me a big pig. And Tyler's more of the hunter, because I just got into it not too long ago. But Tyler's more of the hunter, and he ended up getting one that was a runner. I got one that was just a fat pig.
Big old fat pig.
Yeah, exactly. A ton of meat, and the meat was great. I was like, holy crap, cool. It's really good. So I got to give you some of it. So if you want Italian sausage or chorizo or anything like that, I've got it. So no. It's good. I had Steph eat it. Steph and the kids, I had round steaks and I grilled them up and they loved it. So it's no gaminess, I guess, whatever you want to call it. I eat everything. I'm not a picky eater. So I eat everything. And when Steph ate it, she said she liked it. She just was, the hardest part was getting past that I killed it.
Yeah.
But then I was telling her, I was like, hey, you know what? We're slaughtering a cow in February. Like, is that going to be any different? Like, are you not going to eat it because we're having one slaughtered? She's like, no. So I'm like, it's the same thing.
She's growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Good.
So again, the hunting part, it's an experience that you have to try. And the guided, just, I would do it again if I don't pull tags, just because at least I can get some meat in the freezer.
Yeah.
So,
And it's becoming increasingly difficult here because of people from there.
they get more money, I guess, from out of state tax.
Yeah.
So if they or non-residents.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they allocate so much to them.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very common theme talking with Joel and Sherry Dunn. I mean, they were saying the same thing with their bow tags. I mean, they have been skunked for so many years in a row while they're, pandering to next door.
Exactly.
To do that. So yeah, it gets tough. I would assume for everybody.
Well, this year the numbers were, from my understanding, is a lot of animals died from the winter. They didn't survive. So the tags had to get reduced. So, I mean, it makes sense for me. But at the same time, I'm like, my God, it's been 3 years. It's like, come on.
Ridiculous.
There's a ton of animals out there, and a ton of these deers get hit driving, or crossing the street and a car hits them. And it's like, why not give out more tags instead of it getting wasted or, I mean, I'm sure if they get the animal in time, they can salvage the meat and then give it to someone that can eat.
Yeah. I feel like that's illegal. Like they're not even allowed to do anything.
But
like
if the wildlife, I think if
you're not allowed to, I guess if you hit it,
you're not allowed to.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So NDOW is able to do that.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
But yeah,
ridiculous. But
I mean, there's just, and even for the guys that got tags this year, they said it was rough. Just finding them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does make sense. With the rough winter we had. I mean, it was. I haven't seen a winter like that in a long time.
No, I keep waiting for it to happen again, but shit, we've been skunked, man, for sure.
Yeah, they said it's supposed to be a worse winter this year, and I'm like, I haven't seen it.
Almost bought a snowplow.
Oh yeah,
no, but yeah, I mean it was pretty rough, and we haven't we saw some rain and maybe some in the forecast for the weekend, maybe. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Which we'll take, I guess. As long as there's some moisture. I mean, the mountains are still bare. They're not white yet. So that's. I was hoping for a white Christmas.
Right. It can happen. And that's always. I love the white Christmas and just the heavy winters, just because I love fishing.
So when we don't find you here in the valley, you're most definitely up in Pyramid.
I'm at Pyramid, or if I'm not there in the summer or the spring, I try to fly fish the rivers. I try. I'm not saying I get out a lot, but for the most part, the winters I hit Pyramid quite a bit. Big fish.
You were out there this weekend?
I was out there this weekend. I had a couple takes. Didn't really get anything. I had a couple takes and I was from shore, just, fishing. It was fun. But just being out there is completely different. Like, you don't think about anything but fishing. And that goes back to growing up with my dad always taking me fishing. He wouldn't wake up the other two brothers, but he'd wake me up. And then I finally realized that it wasn't so much about fishing as far as spending time. So, I'm trying to do that with my son. He asked me to go to Pyramid. I'm like, let me get on some fish first before I start taking you out there, or let's wait till it's not as cold and I don't have to be out there at 3 a.m. Even though last year I woke him up at 4 a.m. He jumped in the truck. We were out of the house. We headed up there and he had a blast.
Yeah, he's a cool dude, man.
He had a blast. He just loved being out there. I'm like, this is what my dad used to do with me, except for I'm teaching him how to fly fish. So this year I'm going to teach him how to get onto the switch rod. Being 7 years old, I'm like, okay, this rod's 11 and a half feet. You're 4 feet. to try to manhandle that thing,
He's a little dude.
He is, but he loves fishing. So I'm going to take him out there this year. And again, it's the whole bonding thing. Mm-hmm. Not so much even if we catch fish, but it's more taking him out there and be like, hey, it's me and you time. Mm-hmm. So again, trying to be a dad, trying to spend some time. And then with my daughter, it's whatever she wants, she's my princess. So she like, Dad, I want this, or let's do this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. Yep.
And like you alluded to earlier, I mean, the goal is to do better for your kids than your parents were able to do for you, no matter what that means, no matter what that looks like, is often, especially now in the world of technology. I mean, I find myself, zoning out, and I get yelled at all the time, managing. What I do is I take on enough to where it's like, I feel like now I'm doing a job and trying to grow, not only now with this podcast, but the target business. It's networking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's either you get with the program or you don't,
mm-hmm.
And for me, as far as my business, I mean, we had the social media thing going there for a while. I had someone doing it for me, and right now we backed off of it, just because we're like, okay, we're going through some transitions and we're trying to make things easier as far as the process goes for the shop itself. Mm. And that was one of the things that we didn't see ourselves doing right now. Down the road, I'm not saying our page and from Instagram, Facebook, and all that's not going to come back. But, we used to throw out little things like helpful hints, don't drive around with a tow hitch. Mm. Because when you get hit in tow hitch, it could mess up your frame. Mm. Because the impact goes there and it pushes everything down, and it just changes everything. Mm-hmm. We used to throw out little tips like that. But again, we'll probably end up going back to that eventually. But there's other things that we needed to focus on first, But like your industry, I mean, as far as, I just don't understand. You did a post where it included me and my son, how that got reported and banned. Mm-hmm. But if we enjoy going out and shooting targets, and we have the right to, mm-hmm. It's not like we're not allowed to have guns,
right?
And we're doing it safe. Mm-hmm. What is wrong with that?
You would think, and this is purely subjective, but you would think that what you would want in a 2A society is your children to be able to protect themselves.
Correct.
If the need would arise,
or be comfortable.
Yeah. If we had a string of home burglaries over the last couple of weeks, right? And so I started thinking about, well, maybe I'm gone. Maybe the wife needs to be a little bit more comfortable with a firearm, or maybe my son should be able to get into the safe or whatever, right? There's a lot of thoughts that run through your mind, but the point of the story is that we should be able to, as parents, make that call to our children, like that they're focused enough, they're mature enough that they're able to go out there and shoot. And if that's the case, you should be promoting that. That there is sensible
knowledge is power.
Yes, 100%.
Like if you know how to use a gun, mm-hmm. you're going to be better off than having to use it and not know how to use mm-hmm.
it. The idea of you buy a gun, you get a CCW, and then you're good. 5 years. Don't worry about it. Put the thing in your safe, whatever, right? And that is one of the stigmas that we're really trying to break. And that's one of the sole purposes of this show, is because we're going to have multiple instructors on here telling you the exact same thing, that is exactly the opposite of what you should be doing.
And I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, and you should.
I'm guilty.
You should get out there. You should get comfortable to when talking with Jeff the last time. I mean, he has some of the makes some of the best points. He's really progressive in his training, and I feel like a really good source of information. So if you're in the area looking to, either get your CCW, renew your CCW, or do some advanced training, I really feel like he's a great go-to. He takes into account a lot of real life situations and stresses the mind and the body before performing these exercises. And then not only after that, he's going to give you, when you get your card or you get your certificate from the course, but then he's going to give you the tools to continue to evolve, to get better.
Correct.
We're just like, we were out. How long ago was that when we just went out? I feel like we just went out, but it was like,
it's been months.
It's been a long time. Anyhow, I mean, that's too long.
Yes.
And
I agree.
Ammo prices are fairly constant right now and consistent, and
but you can never have enough.
You can never have enough. You can never have too many guns, and you can never have too much ammo.
I agree 100%.
And then on top of that, you never can have too much training. You can never put too many hours in. And we were talking on the last episode about dry firing or holstering, reholstering. Just getting comfortable. If you've taken the time to go out there and get your CCW, make sure that you're actually utilizing those tools that instructor, whomever it may be, gave you when you were at that course. Keep working on that functionality, and those repetitions and getting comfortable.
Yes. And again, I'm guilty of everything. I don't shoot as much as I'd like to, but I just renewed mine, and I went down there and they said it'd take 30 days to 90 days to get it back. Douglas County, I got in 30. Under 30. It was amazing. And they're like, we have it. I'm like, sweet. Mm-hmm. It was fast.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that, you're not going to have to not wait, because it could take a while.
Yeah.
The one thing that did shock me was I did my research in advance before the expiration. And I tried to take it in, and they told me it had to be within 90 days of expiration.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
So, I tried to turn it in before that, and they're like, no, you can't.
Huh.
So just be prepared.
I'll take note. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
They said it has to be within 90 days.
You think? Well, so did you take just the renewal course?
I took just the renewal course.
So you probably go in and take the full course. Still seems stupid, but
no. Like when you turn it in, you turn in your certification to the county.
Yeah, but if you went and took the entire,
but yeah, course, you still have your
you'd be like a new student, so it really shouldn't matter. But if you're trying to renew, that's still stupid. That's stupid. I don't know. Somebody tried. I don't know what the hell with that. Seriously, what the hell with that?
So
doesn't make any sense.
Again, I had time and I went in, and they're like, "You can't do it. We love how you're being proactive, but you can't do it."
How dumb.
Okay, so
I don't know if that's a county thing or what.
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I did end up waiting. And then I was like, "Oh crap! It expires in 30 days." Because I didn't have the time. I'm running a business.
Yeah.
To find time to stop what I'm doing to go do that. So I ended up doing it. And again, luckily it was within less than 30 days, and I was able to get it before it expired. Mm-hmm. If not, then
we're really fortunate here, I think, because we are, a smaller county. I say that conservatively, but we have a lot of instructors. And so if they're at work, they're working their ass off. And they're making sure that everybody's getting their CCW. Carson City is probably a little bit different. I can't speak to that, but yeah, what the hell with the?
I get it. It might be too many at one time. I don't know.
Maybe.
But again, once I was able to turn it in, everything went smooth though. It was super easy. It wasn't complicated at all. Like, it was just like, okay, we need this. I'm like, okay, cool, got it done. And the guy's like, it could take anywhere from 30 days to 90 days. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'm okay with it because it was my fault. I didn't come in at the 90-day mark. Mm-hmm. So it was my fault. So
now that you have this is so obviously going in for research. So you've had it for a few years, but
yeah,
I think one of the main takeaways from that is that now that you are a responsible concealed carrier, it is important. It would behoove you to get out there at least. If you're not getting out to the range, if you're not getting out shooting, and which you should, because you have a really nice target to shoot.
Yes,
you should probably.
I love it.
You didn't get it for free, so
no, I didn't.
You should probably be using that thing. But the point is that you have this, especially like when it's fresh, when it's top of mind,
Correct.
You're going out there, remembering what that instructor was telling you, and you start utilizing that tool, put that in your back pocket, and you make sure that you're carrying that with you.
And then again, it's balancing life.
Mm-hmm.
Balancing running a business.
I would love to go shooting on Saturday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then balancing the business, the family, and kid functions, and then little things like that, just everything. And then it's like, okay, I have a chance to go fishing. Do I go fishing or do I go shooting?
Side by side.
Exactly. Between all the things that we have that we can do, it's you pick and choose, and
we're fortunate.
Yeah. And for me, it's like my peace of mind is fishing. And that comes from my dad, I love fishing. So that's my relaxed time where it gets me away from everything. Not that I want to get away from everything, but it's just,
that break. Sever it real quick.
It's just like, okay, I get a couple hours of, how do I catch this fish? What fly do I got to tie on? Or what part of that river is that fish hiding in, or I'm not catching anything. Do I need to change my depth? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? So my mind's all on fishing. So it's a release.
Yeah.
But at the same time, shooting is another release. Going out there and, you get a aim at the target, pull the trigger. You're like, yes. And when that target that I got from you switches sides, and you're hitting the target, it's a good feeling. You're doing your job.
Yeah.
That way, if an intruder gets in your house, you're not just closing your eyes and just shooting. You know what you're doing. So again, practice does make perfect. And I do need to get out there. So we'll have to make it a point to where maybe this can go out to the range with us or take some video of us just shooting.
Yeah. And that's a great point. We are always looking for ways to involve. We have, multiple shops in Northern Nevada that are carrying our stuff and they're selling them at a reasonable rate. There's plenty of our targets out there. And what we don't have is footage of you guys using the damn targets. And so what I would really love is some fresh stuff. I am just as guilty of not being out there fair, lucky if I'm out there a couple times a year, and we had a spot that was very close and very convenient for us that got shut down and turned into a fucking quarry.
Yes.
So then we had to go out a little bit farther now. And the spot that we went out the last time, it's pretty good unless it's a good riding day, and it's kind of sketchy if it's a lot of people. We saw side by sides and dirt bikes and stuff like that. It's not as cool as Coyote Rock was, and
exactly.
We're slowly but surely getting kind of pushed out to where we have to improvise and do things a little bit differently, and so. But it's no excuse. It's an extra couple miles.
We should still get out there.
Yeah, we definitely should. And now Peter also has a Can MX3, and
yes,
we probably use it about as many times a year as each other does. It's just a lawn ornament at this point.
I think you used yours more than I did. Every time we tried to plan something, we were busy, and you guys did the VC trip.
Yeah,
and
I hope you can make that this year.
I'm definitely trying.
If I get invited back. Yeah, if once we get a date, I really wholeheartedly hope that you can come in there and join us. And if you want to have somebody sitting co-pilot in your car.
And that was the guys' trip, right?
Yeah.
And that was right around May, right?
Fun. Yes. And
I think last year I didn't make it because it was my birthday weekend.
It was.
So, usually it's hard.
Birthday this year.
It's hard because I like spending birthdays with the family.
Oh, of course.
It's one of the things where it's like, okay, the kids get us. I'm there with the kids, the wife, and it's family time.
Sure.
Although my 40th, I didn't spend with the wife and kids. I got home late that night, but it's still one of those things that weekend is usually, we celebrate my birthday and it's with the family. So that's kind of hard.
And we'll see how it lands this year.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, whether, if the weather comes in the way they're saying it's supposed to, and the back half of winter ends up being just a super bitch. And even last year, we got up to, we found some cornices up on the trail that they were trying to take us on. Reconvene and go back a few miles and go some other trails to try to make it. But
that's all part of taking the trip.
Exciting. And you take, from our house, it takes on average about 45 minutes to hour and 15 to get to VC. And you turn that trip into a 6-hour excursion with the boys, and there's beer stops and there's,
there you go,
cool sites and going out and just it's different because you get that little bit. There's not the co-pilot that's super tense in your passenger seat,
Agreed.
Telling you don't do that because it's a bad idea. It's like, no, we're going to just try it.
But sometimes we need that.
We have to have it. That's how I function. I mean, if there was, if I at this point in my life was still single, I would not be sitting here right here in this side on the side of the table.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. Also, yes,
I need her, and so. We've evolved enough to realize that, which is fantastic.
Right.
We are not self-sufficient as much as I'd like to be. Make some
as much as we think we are too. And it's just like, what? I remember going on a little fishing trip to Pyramid and I took the trailer out and I'm like, okay, I'm going by myself. No big deal. I get out there and the only thing I packed is beer.
Yeah. That's what dudes do.
And I'm like, what am I going to eat when I got out there? I'm like, I opened the fridge. I'm like, there's beer. There's no food. What the fuck? And we ended up going down to the bar or whatever it was and getting food at the bar at Pyramid because they have a lodge there. I'm like, my wife packs the trailer really good because when we go camping, there's always food in there. I don't realize it, because until I had to do it myself, and there was nothing there. That's a very
highly contentious topic in our house all the time. The nerve it takes sometimes. It's pretty smooth sailing, but pulling the trailer. You got a big toy hauler now, and so and you came over 50 with it when you bought it. So you have those pucker moments where
100%
something a little bit bigger, right? And so I've never had a trailer that big, but I do know that I've been in some situations where like, holy shit, what's happening, right? So I attributed that to my contribution. That's all I do. It's like I just get the trailer there, I set it up, I'll hook up the hoses and the water things. But I don't give my wife enough credit for the amount of work that goes into planning our meals, packing the fridge, like you're saying. It is definitely a yin and a yang type thing. And she always threatens me with changing, like I'll pack the fridge and she'll drive the trailer. And I don't think I want to see that, but anyways, we all have our roles and I hope that, all kidding aside, that the wives don't, mine especially, doesn't feel like she's overlooked in that sense, because I know how much work she does, how much work it takes to get a family of 4 camping.
Correct. They pack it all in there, and then when it comes to unpacking, it's like, holy crap. We took a lot of stuff. Yeah. So this year we're trying to make it a goal to just start planning a little better as far as buying stuff for the trailer and keeping it for the trailer.
Okay.
Instead of having to bring it in.
Less planning.
In and out. It's like, okay, hey, let's do this. Let's buy this for the trailer and leave it in the trailer because it's for the trailer.
Oh, good.
So it'll be less transition or, moving stuff in and out, but still got to get the food in there. Still got to get the food. Yeah. Still got to get,
I'm always joking. I'm like, we just do burgers and dogs every night. And Bree's like, absolutely not.
See, and I'd be good with that.
I know. Well, I know. So like, if we just the boys, we do like 15 nights of burgers and dogs. Like it's, it's
burgers one night, dogs fine. The next night,
chili, like throw some chili dogs or whatever, like doesn't matter. But yeah, one of the things that we're really fortunate is when we go camping, it's usually with a group of people, plan meals and stuff like that. Super fun because you don't cook all the whole time.
Exactly. Split it up.
Yeah. But that's where the stress I think comes in with her is that she's having to plan for it's not just 4 anymore. It's
Exactly.
like 15 or 50. It doesn't matter, but it's always something. So, shout out to the wives out there keeping us afloat. God bless.
Wouldn't be where I'm at without you, babe.
Well, Peter, hey, we were worried. You came in here. What are we going to talk about?
Right?
We freaking did it. Battleborn Autobody, Carson City. Can you give us the address? And
2016 South Edmonds Drive.
And how do we get a hold of you if need be?
You can call 775-301-6500.
You can find it on social media too.
Yeah. Our Facebook, it's just the Battleborn Autobodies. I really don't know our Instagram. Just call the shop. That's the best thing. Call down there. We'll take care of you.
Good. And they do. And that's, again, you guys are definitely setting yourselves apart from the rest of the shops in the area. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Peter, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
And you know what?
Really good stuff.
This was good.
It was good.
It was
good
fun.
Choice.
Blade and bow. All right, cheers.
Smooth.
So good.
In the Blue Ridge Hills in Kentucky, when I was out